Hey folks, welcome back to York River Cannabis. For this week, we are going to be doing Growing Your Hemp, the road to becoming a hemp farmer, and this is part two. And we've been talking about this for a while, but before we get into it, don't forget to hit that little red button down in the corner that says subscribe so you can see more videos related to growing hemp. So we're going to get into the road to becoming a hemp farmer, and if you haven't seen part one, please do and check it out up here. I'm going to have the link in the description too. So first, we're going to go over what we're going to talk about today: the steps to growing hemp. What's your grow area, and we'll get into that. Seeds and clones and what to know. Taking care of your plants and experiment if you can. And with that, we kind of lead into soil wars a little bit. If you haven't been checking that out, please do, and I'll leave a link up here. Sorry, guys. All right. So prepping your grow area, field, greenhouse, or both, right? So you've got people who do both. People who just do outdoor grow and people who just do indoor grow. And we're right now just an outdoor grow, but we are getting a greenhouse. And the greenhouse can be for propagation, it can be for an all year harvest. So you got to kind of know what you want to do. If you want to spread out and do it all, then you just got to know that there's more money involved with that. We're just using what we have, which is dirt, just a field and some farm equipment. Acquiring the proper equipment for your grow, and that goes back to knowing which way you want to go, right? So we went with the field, we got all the equipment we needed, drip irrigation, tubing, tiller, uh, cultivator. So you need to know what you're doing so you're not spending money that you don't need to spend. When you're talking about grow with a field or a greenhouse, you need to know your irrigation for sure. And if you're going to be growing a large acreage, you might want to just consider going the natural water source and waiting for rain. I see some people on Instagram doing that, and the plants seem to be doing all right. So I can't say that that's not a good way to go. The good thing about irrigation, especially with the small plot that we have, is we can play with fertilizers in there. We can inject whatever we want. We've been working with some nutrient companies to really boost our plants. So we have a little bit of advantage with that. But the natural water source, if you're using large acreage, is definitely probably the way to go. And then fencing or open field. And I'm going to touch on this really quick. We see a lot of people putting up fences, even on big fields, and we are putting up a fence on our small field. And really, it has nothing to do with animals. It's really about people. The education for the hemp plant, especially here in Virginia, is just not there. People automatically associate that leaf with marijuana. It's hard to talk people off of that. So the fence is more for people. If you have an open field, you got to have a lot of acreage. I think if you're doing anything small, you should invest in a fence. But from what we've learned, we're definitely going to do a small fence, nothing crazy, 4 foot high construction fence. So hopefully you can take that and run with it, whatever fence works for you. All right, so starting with seeds or clones. Now, we have experienced both of these now, and so I know we touched on it in part one, and we're really going to dive into it today. So, first, we're going to talk about seeds because that's what we started with. And you need to start early. We did not. We started our first seed, I think it was April 26th, whenever we got that permit. And I attribute some of the planting day disaster to that. I think if the plants were a little bit bigger, I think we would have had a better success. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't have started when we did. It's just we didn't know that it was going to be 100 degrees the second week of May. So, you know, it, if you're doing seeds, get your order in at the end of harvest season and start them. You know, the latest for us in Virginia would be mid-March, and if you're up in the northern climates, maybe early April. But I mean, I wouldn't start anything later than like the second week of April because unless you're up north, you're going to run out of time. Use good soil. We had all those problems with our seedling soils. We used coarse vermiculite. We shouldn't have been doing that. We were using potting soil. We should be doing that, but it should be mixed with a heavy perlite mix or a heavy vermiculite mix. So we definitely learned some stuff, and now we've learned that companies make seedling mix like Coast of Maine Seed Start, and I think overall it's just easier maybe to get one of those than it is to make your own. But I think the cost to make your own is probably a little bit cheaper. Experiment with the soil if you have never grown before, and that just touches on what we said before, right? So if you're going to do your own soil, you need to experiment. Like, do not put all your eggs in one basket. And we made that mistake early on with the vermiculite. We had a tip that said, "Oh, vermiculite's great." Well, vermiculite's great if you get the right one. I didn't know that it was a coarse and a fine, and we ended up getting the wrong one and a lot of it, and it was not. It was just not a good way to start the grow season. And don't overwater seedlings. Number one thing you don't want to do with these guys is overwater them. They'll croak. Now you don't want to not water them, and you don't want to put them under intense light, especially indoors. So they are very finicky, but once they get started, they're golden. So you just got to put in a lot of effort the first couple weeks. But now we're going to talk about clones, and my view on clones has definitely changed since part one, and I'll go into that in a second. So you have time to secure a buyer with good genetics. Now, looking back, we spent about $300 on seeds, maybe a little bit more, maybe 350. But we got three different types of plants, which for us was great. Now, had we bought 70 or so plants, I think we would have been in a better spot from the get-go. But we didn't know really what we were doing with clones, and there's some stuff out there. You get good genetics, you can get bottom branches that don't grow well. So knowing what I know now, I think we could pick a good clone provider. But getting into the next thing, which kind of relates to seeds here when we get to the bottom of this list. Acclimate your plants. So if you're going to buy clones, you got to acclimate them, and you need to make sure that they're not going to just go out in the field and die. I've heard a couple people just say they bought their clones, they put them in the field, next thing you know, 50% of them are dead. Don't do that, especially if they're coming from a whole different area like Colorado to Virginia. You don't want to be putting them directly in the ground. They're going to go through some sort of shock. Just baby them for a week, and you're fine. Check the soil and the source. This is big with clones. The soil can be bad. It can come with bugs. It can come with all kinds of stuff. And again, it goes back to the source. Is this clone provider a more professional person, or is this a shady business? And I would check up here. We're going to link our video to cannabis shows that kind of talks about sketchy businesses in the hemp industry, and there's plenty of them. So you got to watch out for that. And then this kind of relates to seeds, and this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. I'm really excited to talk about this because we've learned so much in so little time with clone your own plants when you can. The seeds that you get, if you do it correctly, you can do what they call like a pheno hunt or a mother plant hunt. And you plant all your seeds, and then you get a seed that's just doing really, really well. And we have two of them right now that are just way bigger than the rest of the plants. And so what we have done as we try to fill the field with all the holes that we've been gifted with from the planting day disaster is we go out there and we clip off these huge plants, and we know that those clones are going to be just like those mother plants. And the cool thing is we know exactly where they're coming from, right? So we don't have to worry about the soil. We've cloned them ourselves, so the cost is minimal. It's water and electricity for running the cloning machine. And of course, you got to buy the cloning machine, but that thing pays for itself. I mean, you get 2 batches of clones, it's paid for itself. So when you do clone your own plants, getting seeds first and then finding an awesome mother plant is really cool. When you get clones, somebody already has that mother plant, and you got to bank that mother plant is good, and they're not just clipping branches to sell to you. So I think ultimately, from our farm point of view, that we want start with seeds and then clone from those seeds and then keep those plants alive throughout the winter, so you have mother plants, and we know exactly what that plant's going to produce. So if you can clone yourself, I would highly suggest it. I think that you save on cost and you know what you're getting. You know what soil you're putting in those clones. It just seems like the best bet. Now, if you don't have that facility and you don't have that time, that's fine. But my suggestion is, and what we've really come to love, is cloning our own plants. I mean, our cloning machine is constantly going right now to fill those holes. We are cloning and cloning and cloning. So I can't talk enough about that. All right, so next we're going to talk about taking care of your plants. I know this is a really long video and it's probably really boring, but we want to talk about taking care of your plants. Watch the weather. Now, this goes back to planting day disaster where it was 100 degrees for 3 or 4 days and killed a lot of plants. And we didn't watch the weather. So taking care of your plants, we should have taken that suggestion early on. If you can, check your plants every day. This morning we went out and top dressed actually, so it's kind of cool. When you top dress your plants, you get to kind of hang out with them and you scratch the ground around the base of the plant. You put a little bit of nutrient on them and you kind of just check them. And that's like a really good check. Now, when I say check them every day, you just walk your rows. You see one is getting chewed on by a caterpillar, you might want to take a look at it. But for overall, you're just looking for any changes, yellowing, anything, that would be out of the ordinary for your plants. And it really helps because when you discover something, you're right there every day. Pests. Well, we've run into these every single time we run into these, it's a new pest. So we've got aphids, we get caterpillars, we get these things called thrips. They just suck, and you got to have a different pesticide for each of them. Although we've been learning that there are some overall, like general pesticides you can use. I don't know how good they are. We haven't tried any yet. We're trying to avoid using pesticides as much as possible, even organic ones, which is all you can use for hemp. We really, really, really don't want to be doing that because I just don't always believe that they're totally organic. They might be certified, but it can't be good for the plant. Water and nutrients, we have so many different types of nutrients right now. We've been working with a bunch of companies, Coast of Maine, Craft Buds. I think we have, what is it? Trying to think of another one. Cold War Organics. We got a sample from, and we've just been trying a whole host of nutrients, and we use Sensagrow in our cloning machine just because it has a pH balance, and it's highly recommended. Advanced Nutrients is expensive, but it's good stuff. So check them out if you ever want to. All right, so now, last but not least, experiment if you can. And we're going to go on a rant here real quick about Soil Wars. Check us out. Go on to Instagram. Follow us on YouTube for this. This is gaining so much traction. In fact, we talked to Soil King recently, and we're going to get, I think, Big Bloom soil from Soil King. And we're excited to add that one. So this picture, as I said, it was supposed to be the last, but we've gotten a few more requests to get into Soil Wars, so we're going to delay it just a little bit to get these guys in. All right, so try different soils. We just went on that soil rant, so we're not going to do much about that. Check out Soil Wars. Do it yourself. If you don't have the capital to do all this, go and at least try 2 or 3 different soils. I don't recommend putting all your eggs in one basket, especially if you're new to cannabis growing. Try different growing pots. Right now for Soil Wars, we're just using 5-gallon smart pots, but we do have root pouches, which we're fairly impressed with. So, and most of our mother plants are actually in the root pouches. Try different nutrients. Goes back to what I was talking about earlier. You go to a hydroponic store and you can go nuts. I think general terms, General Hydroponics and Fox Farm are 2 favorites. But we're trying a whole host of different ones, and we know that Fox Farm would work, and we know that General Hydroponics would work, but we like working with smaller companies, and we also like trying new things, so we're not too interested in those 2 companies. Don't be afraid to fail, and I think this is where we're going to end off. we have failed so often, so many times as new growers. It um, it's frustrating, but don't be afraid of it. Every grower has gone through this. Not every grower will share this because, well, first of all, when you learn these hard mistakes, you really want the next grower to get a pass on them. I mean, we like sharing them, but not everybody is full forward on what has gone wrong with their plants. But I like open communication with that, and you've seen all the disasters that we've had. And we went into this thinking we knew how to grow this stuff. So that tells you anything. Good luck. But don't be afraid of it. And happy growing, everybody. Thanks for watching this really long video. I know these, road to becoming a hemp farmer videos are kind of boring, but I really do feel that we get to talk more about what's gone wrong, what's gone right, and really connect with you guys who are watching this and to see what you guys are doing. Leave comments below if you have suggestions for our grow. We always are looking for suggestions. So if you watch this video and go, oh, hey, but maybe this, leave it in the comments. We're wide open to hearing those suggestions. But anyway, folks, thanks for watching this really long and boring video about the road to becoming a hemp farmer. These are probably my least favorite videos to make, but we enjoy making them to share the experiences, as every week we do the hemp grow updates. We don't get to share everything that's going on, and I think it's just valuable, and I think documenting all of this stuff is very valuable. So if you haven't checked us out on Instagram, please do. York River Cannabis. It's right up here. Check us out. We're also on Facebook now, but they don't allow the word cannabis, so it's York River Hemp. I don't know why they don't allow the word cannabis on any names. And we're also on Twitter now at York River Cannabis. And we are making videos on BitChute. If you haven't checked it out yet, go ahead. It's kind of, we're going to use it as like a backup for YouTube, as some people are saying that YouTube's cracking down on certain videos. I don't think they'll bother legal hemp, but you never know. I mean, it's possible. So thanks for watching, guys.